The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, here we go. Our final panel from Tidewater Horror Con happening in Norfolk, Virginia at the Wyndham Hotel. And, we saved the best for last. We're going to tune into the panel room right now.
And welcome back at Tidewater Horror Convention. We are having a ball, are we not?
Yes, we are.
This is our last and final panel of the weekend.
Yes.
And I personally think we saved the best for last.
I did.
You know, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've left an impression.
Oh no, I hope a good one.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked the other day about how you replaced my all-time favorite scenes. So,
Well, I'm honored.
Yeah, and I was just wrong about that. But I was looking up your IMDb. You've done an awful lot of stuff. You've got a ton of actress credits in stuff that I didn't even know about. You know what I mean? So my first question to you is going to be, what was your favorite film or movie to be a part of?
Wow, I mean, everyone is different. I feel like, and I love certain ones for different reasons. The very first film I ever did was certainly very first lead I ever had in a feature certainly left an impression because it was the first time. So it's the first time for everything. So everything is new, and that was the return to Nukem High films. And that was a lot of fun because some of those people became some of my closest friends, But I also did this film a few years back that I really enjoyed called Long Lost that I did with one of my closest friends. And we filmed it in a really short period of time, but it was just, it was a similar feeling to the first time where we knew we were making something really great. We knew we were making something really different. So I think that was one of my favorites too, because we were just doing something new and exciting. When you can feel that on a set, it just makes the whole energy, contagious.
Well, that's awesome. You played a variety of different kinds of roles as well. Do you have a favorite type, horror, or I see you did some documentaries too.
Yeah, well, I work as a producer as well.
Yeah.
So, I've been really lucky to work on a couple different docs. One project that I really loved that I was just honored to be a part of was this film that followed the Roger Ailes case. And so my job for that was not only, to be involved as a producer, but it was also, or in a production role, but it was also to reenact all of the women's stories that were the victims of Roger Ailes. And that was really cool because I got to talk to each of them and just make sure that I was doing that justice. So that's, how you can kind of correlate documentary work with, performative work, if that makes sense. But as far as characters go, I feel like everyone is different. I like really dynamic, strong female characters. That's really exciting for me whenever I can do that. But each one takes a little piece of you, so it's really hard to choose.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It does. I guess one of my first questions would be, how did you get involved with Terrifier?
So that was I had just gotten back from the Nukem High films, and that I was in between agents, and I saw this casting call for it, and I was like, I really enjoyed my work that I did in the genre film, so I just went in, and we did the pizza parlor scene. That was my audition scene, and usually you have a reader, and what we did was, we went in to do the scene. I said, hey, is it okay if I touch you? Can I move around? Like, yeah, we'll follow you with the camera, whatever. I do it. I do it exactly as I do in the movie. I sit on his lap, I move his face around, the whole thing. And they're hysterically laughing. And I'm like, oh, I must be doing a really good job, And then I come to find out that the reason they're laughing is because that's the executive producer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's awesome.
I mean, it worked out well. I got the parts. I guess it all worked out, but it could have gone terribly, terribly wrong.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah, it really is. So I've met the guy that plays Bart.
David.
Yes, I've met David. Very nice guy. He's from my area, Alabama.
Oh,
He's
wow.
from Alabama originally.
My little
Alabama.
sister went to the University of Alabama.
Yes. What was it like working with him in the Get Up? Like,
Oh, he's such a sweetheart. It was actually kind of funny. And we were working like such crazy hours where like it was all overnights. So, you know, we'd get in when the sun was coming down and we wouldn't be wrapping till the sun was coming up. And honestly, he was just the nicest guy that after a while you just forget. And you're kind of in this like, you know, daze, like sleepy, like land. And then you like look over and you go, oh, David, okay. You're like just moving on. But there were times where like we would be like waiting to check into a hotel because we had like drove to a new location and you can't check in yet. So we're just waiting and he's just exhausted, being like, will someone please take my face off? Please take off my face. He was the best. He's seriously the nicest guy. Like it's hard to be afraid of him for me in that getup.
yeah, and you know, I've got a lot of respect for him. I really do. He speaks his mind very well.
Yes.
He's very supportive of everyone.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah,
nice guy.
absolutely. He's a total sweetheart, and it's really hard. I think people don't realize to take a completely silent character and give it so many interesting and memorable traits. And he really does that. His physical comedy is unbelievable.
He's freaky as fuck.
Yeah.
Not in real life though. You meet him, and he's just like the nicest
No, I mean,
guy
you know,
ever.
in the movie itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I watch a lot of horror movies.
Yeah.
And that was just a freaky character.
And he really brought so many layers to it. That was just incredible.
That's awesome. What's your favorite scene in Terrifier?
I really enjoy the pizza parlor scene with Jenna. She's one of my good friends in real life. So that, and what a lot of people don't know is that we were both on other projects at the time. And the Terrifier guys were really great that they kind of worked around our schedule. But because of that, a lot of the scenes we didn't actually do together. It's like movie magic, we're acting somebody else, we're not anyone at all, and they're just cutting in and cutting around. And that was one of the few days that we actually got to work together. And so that's really fun for me because she's one of my really close friends and I don't get to see her a lot. So that was like, so I don't know, just personally, I really like that scene. Also, you know, that was just a fun day. We got to eat pizza all day and like hang out. It's great.
You've done a number of short films too.
Yeah,
You
you
wrote
know,
one.
yeah, you do a lot. Short films are really cool because a lot of times they're proof of concepts for larger features. So when you're in kind of working in the indie world, you will do these, and if they start to win awards or they do well, they're used to fund the larger projects. So they're fun because you get to kind of really collaborate and experiment with a lot of different creatives. So, you know, like I'm going to do one in a few weeks in LA, and like that team is a big horror team and they're doing a proof of concept for a feature. So they're just fun ways to play and explore and develop characters that give you a lot of control and, you know, do things that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily be able to do if a bigger budget was on the line.
Well, what were I'm an indie filmmaker. We've talked about this.
Yes.
I have to ask, what were your thoughts when you first read the script for Terrifier? Because it was such a in my mind, groundbreaking horror film.
And one of the things that, and you know, Damien really made an effort to make sure I was comfortable with everything. He drove to my my neighborhood. He met me at like a coffee shop of my choosing. You know what I mean? We just talked through everything. And one of the things that I really like about that script in particular that I think a lot of people forget is that he really writes these amazing women roles. You know, Art the Clown is an obviously like archetypal villain, and you know, and has made history, but like the women in his writing are super cool and really kind of have these like different, just really strong traits. Like obviously Jenna's character, Tara, who everyone thinks is going to be the final girl, fights back. Jenna is an amazing stunt performer. We're both stunt trained, so there's all sorts of like really cool scenes that she gets to do. But what I really liked about Dawn as well is that like she's a very strong female character. She doesn't necessarily fight back in the way that Tara does, but she is very confident in herself.
Okay.
She knows what she wants. At no point does she show real fear until she's in, the torture situation. She is very aware of who she is. She's very confident in her sexuality. Ultimately, that's her downfall, but that's what great horror does, right? It explores the things that in society that we punish people for, right? So she is ultimately punished for being confident in herself and having, strength in her sexual nature. You know what I mean? Tara is ultimately punished for being strong enough and confident enough to fight back. You know what I mean? It's really cool how he does that, and he does it in a way that isn't going to hit you over the head with it. It's just there. And I just think that's so cool, and that's what great horror does. It allows you to have this escapism that you can then reflect upon afterwards.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite director that you've worked with?
Oh wow. Now I'm gonna feel. I love them all for different reasons. I learned different things from different directors, and that's I think the mark of a great director. Lloyd Kaufman gave me the ability to take agency in whatever I really wanted. I was in full control in terms of how I wanted to be involved in the production. He actually listens to my input on other projects. He'll send you the cut for notes. Most directors don't do that, so I love him for that. I love Eric Bloomquist for Long Lost because he taught me to trust my stillness. Sometimes you can do so much with so little, and just to have confidence in the words that were coming out were already really good, and that was like an amazing lesson. I worked with this director, David Jackson, who's not a genre director, but he's an action director, and I've never felt so looked after and supported and like nurtured, and so I loved working with him. Every director is different. Obviously, I enjoy working with Damien. Damien is interesting because he doesn't show pressure. He removes himself from the situation, which some directors will get. So, I don't know if I have a favorite per se, but I definitely learn every time. And I think that's the mark of a great director is that they help you not only deliver the best performance you can, but evolve as a performer each time,
They give you the freedom to express who you are.
Yeah, and some don't, and that's also amazing, right? Like there's learning experiences in each thing. And I think, even some of the short film directors that I've worked with, like there's this up and coming director, Wiley Rush, who one of the things that I love about him is that there's never a question about a back and forth about pay rates. He gives you what you deserve, what is the rate, and he doesn't question it. And that doesn't happen a lot with women in genre either. So, every single one of them have different traits, and I'm sure different shortcomings, but the real mark of a great director is not one that just, gets a good performance out of you, but that encourages you to give strong performances going forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So how did you prepare for the infamous death scene?
So we shot that after we had done most of principal photography. And so and it got rescheduled twice. So it was in January. It was cold. It was in the warehouse we did it in. There was no heat and no running water.
Oh.
So I don't think I really could have prepared. I didn't know, until I got there. Typically, you're supposed to have a rig. We didn't do that. We just didn't have the budget for it. So, I guess I could tell you I prepared by doing like a consistent ab workout, but like that wasn't for the role. That was just because you had to crunch up because I guess so my legs were always in the shackles. We couldn't take them out. So I was actually, reverse crunching down, doing the shot, reverse crunching, and they lift me back up onto a platform. So that's what I'm saying. I guess I could tell you having a consistent core workout is good, but like not I didn't do that for this role. I just, healthy lifestyle in general.
And you're right, in indie filmmaking especially, you don't always have the budget, and you just got to do what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I do not recommend you try that at home. And Damien to this day says, next time we're getting a rig. But I mean, all's well that ends well. You know what I mean?
I am even more impressed now that I didn't know that. So I'm more impressed now.
Well, thank you. Again, I don't recommend, but we did it. We did it.
Pulled it off.
Yeah.
Pulled it off awesome.
We did it. Thank you. Thank you.
I can remember the first, obviously, Terrifier was a word-of-mouth movie when it came out, and everybody said, "You got to see this movie. You got to see this movie. You got to see this movie." So finally, I broke down and ordered the Blu-ray, and watched it. And I remember I was like, "They're not. They are. Whoa!" Like they just, like I said, I feel that film was really groundbreaking in so many ways. Like you said, strong women, everything that Damien did with that film, and now finding out what you had to do to shoot that scene. Oh, mad props, honey.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about that film. When we were doing it, Damien said, we're making horror movie history here. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, but no, not everybody says that. But like, you just don't, he knew. I don't think I knew what was going to happen, that it was going to have the impact that it did on so many people. And I think that's the coolest thing. That's so rewarding,
Awesome. I wanted to ask you, you got involved with a fundraiser during COVID, doing readings. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so funny. People keep bringing that up here, and I didn't even think it made that much of an impact. So I was in New York City when everything started to shut down, and my family encouraged me to come home. So I did. And I found these children's books just around my house. And, so I was like, I'm going to pour myself a drink and I'm going to read them because everyone's at home and everyone's bored and, everyone will laugh. It'll just be silly and ridiculous. And so many people started, like thousands of people started tuning in every other night to watch. And I was just kind of blown away by it. So I was like, well, if you're tuning in, like, let's try to make some good out of this, and let's, raise some funds for the Center for Disaster Philanthropy. And so every other night, I would get on and I would read. A lot of times, I'm drinking or being silly, and I'm saying like stupid things about the books or whatever it is that I'm reading. And after a while, I had David come on. And we would like tag team. He played the Grinch in like an off-Broadway tour. So we did the Grinch, and he did the voice, and then we did like Jenna did one with me. We did like scary stories to tell in the dark, and we ended up raising $14,000 over the course of a few weeks for the Center for Disaster Philanthropy, which was really, really cool. Yeah, so I was really proud of that. We could come together, and I think it was helpful for me too. Just gave me purpose and kept me staying every night. I had something to do, with my friends. So yeah,
that's just so cool. I came across that readings, so I had to look into it. I'm like, is she like reading books, or is she like doing readings with crystal balls?
Reading the crystal ball? No, I was just reading children's books, and on Sundays I would read a chapter or two from the Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge like Lord of the Rings nerd, and just because, like, not raising money for anything, like just because. And we did it for a few months. Eventually, we stopped during the Black Lives Matter protests after the death of George Floyd, because I just felt that we should be providing a platform for other voices, and I didn't want to take away from that. But I'm like super proud of what we did raise during that time.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was your way of giving back.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it helped me as much as it was helpful to the organizations, because it's so easy when you're feeling alone or when things were uncertain. And I mean, they're still very uncertain to feel so isolated. And it just reminded me of like what we're able to do when we come together, leave the world a little bit better than we found it,
That's awesome.
When did you, I'm a theater brat, I started in theater. When did you find your love for acting? When did you know that's what you wanted to do?
I was a little girl. My dad was a chef and my mom was a dancer. And so it was like I had a creative household, And I told my mom that I wanted to do some of this stuff. And she's like, all right. And the local theater company would do shows, and they also had Broadway tours come through. And when the union policy at the time was they had to recast kids if there were kids at the show in every city. And so I was just around and started getting cast and loved it. And then, started getting a little older, wanted to take classes, wasn't as cute anymore. So I took some classes, and my first agent came out of that, and I just kind of started going from there. And then I kind of transitioned to more film and television, but I still have a love for theater. I've worked with this amazing Academy Award nominated director, Josh Fox, before he did his documentary work. He had a theater company in the city that I was a part of. So yeah, done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've found is most of us, I don't think people realize it, most of us started out in theater.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very rare, even in the conservatory training, that you get a lot of film and television work. That's still, believe it or not, a newer training, which is crazy to think about, but it is. So, but it's the same process. It's just how you deliver the medium. So if you love one, you love both, usually.
That's great. Well, I want to ask you about, I'll be nice and I'll say 2 girls, 1 duck.
That's a documentary. It's the making of the return to Nukem High films, and that's a joke because the character Lauren has a duck in the movie. She has a pet duck, so that's why it's called 2 girls, 1 duck. It's a joke, and there's actually 3 ducks because they can't be alone. So when we were working with the ducks on set, they had to have 3. They get really depressed when they're by themselves.
You can't just have 1 duck?
No, and also for like animal, like law, animal safety and treatment, ethical laws on sets, you have to have backups. You can't have the duck work that many hours. So you can have the humans, but not the duck. So they would swap them out. So Kevin, the pet duck, was played by 3 ducks. And often to get 1 duck to do what you wanted it to do, you would they like to be together. So you would place like one of the ducks at the far end of the room and put the other duck and you wanted it to run across, and it would run to the other duck. And that's how we did it. And it would always they'd always be in their little corner speaking in their little duck language,
That's right. And they all look
shit,
obviously. They all had to be the same look. They all looked alike.
Yeah, I mean, these did. I'm sure they have diversity in the duck species, but these ducks all looked the same. They did. They all looked the same.
Wow. Yeah, and the animal thing, yeah, that's big. We talked to Dee Wallace about Cujo. I guess they had 17 of those dogs.
Yeah.
Which I was just blown away.
Yeah, Lloyd says they're like the Olsen twins. They travel in pairs.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing Danny Hassel's panel yesterday, obviously Nightmare 4, infamous how Freddy's resurrected was by the dog pissing the fire. He said that dog got treated better than anybody else on that set.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, absolutely, as it should be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's totally cool. You've been nominated for a whole bunch of awards. I know you've won a bunch of awards. Best Actress Award. You want to tell us a little bit about some of the other ones that you've won?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really lucky that the films that I've been a part of have been really, really well received from the beginning, and that does not happen to everybody. Return to Nukem High was my first lead in the feature. I was 19 years old, and that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. That's the biggest film festival in the world. I mean, started there. It's like I always joke it was all downhill from there because they're like, where else are you gonna go? I've been honored by the Museum of Modern Art in their Contender series. Sherman Oaks Film Festival in Los Angeles. I won an Emerging Talent Award for recently. I think it was the Pasadena Film Festival Best Actress Award. I'm very, very lucky. The films I've been a part of have been really well received, and a lot of that is due to the audiences. That's you guys. So thank you.
It all falls down to the fans.
Exactly.
Yeah, always. I mean, not so much in the like festival circuit in terms of the awards or like the Academy pushes, Emmy pushes, things like that. The Academy it tries to be very biased, but the way people not biased, but very unique outside of the mainstream popularity, but how people find out about films and how they start getting into these festival circuits, how they start winning awards, how they even get the distribution and the funds to make the next films are fan followings. I mean, the Terrifier film is a perfect example because that film is completely fan driven. I don't think the distribution company knew how successful it was going to be. There is not really an advertising budget there. It has just been word of mouth, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I mean, we knew we had something when we were at Lincoln Center. We opened their horror film festival, and we sold out. Lincoln Center is a huge venue. It's one of the most prestigious venues in New York City. They have a huge ballet company and opera house. Like, it is a big deal. It's where Juilliard is. That's the theater. And we sold out. People were sitting on the floor. And again, complete word of mouth. That's the only theatrical screening it really did. We sold out. And then we really knew we had something, it was doing Netflix. People were talking about it. When Damien went to fundraise for the next film, they doubled their goal in 24 hours. And that was crowdfunding. It was unbelievable. And it just goes to show like the power of these communities and of the audiences, and what you're able to accomplish. Josh Fox says that you can make real change and real progress in any industry with 5 people. So, I mean, and you can, and it just keeps growing, and we're so grateful for that.
So where do you go from here?
I don't know. I mean, I guess wherever people want me to go.
Do you have anything new in the works right now that you can discuss?
Like I said, I'm going to LA in a few weeks to start a production. I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about in terms of what the production is, but I can say that the director-writer is very well known in the indie genre world for films in a similar vein. So we're excited about that. I recently wrapped production on this like esports competition show with amazing comedian Jordan Rock. So we'll see what happens with that. And then I'm in development on a series that like plays up mythology a little bit. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So some cool stuff. Obviously, this is a fun time of year for everybody. We get to do little cameos in movies because it's Halloween time and meet all the fans and stuff. So yeah. Hopefully, as long as everyone keeps getting vaccinated and we are able to stay open, we'll keep making movies.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions? No questions, really?
Come on, somebody's got to have one. We got one from online.
Yeah, so in addition to here at Tidewater in person, we're actually streaming worldwide through all of our channels. So we just had a comment come in. This is from Patsy the Angry Nerd. Great screen name. So they would like to know, and I think you alluded to this a little bit, but what was it like to be in one of the greatest kill scenes in horror history? I know we talked about the preparation, what you could do, but what was it like in general? And did you have any inclination that it would become, the cult status it is today?
Yeah, I mean, again, Damien said to me, this is the first time this has been done in horror movie history. We're making horror movie history with this scene. And I don't know, I just couldn't wrap my head around that we were actually doing that. So now I wear it. I mean, it was hard. It was cold. It was long. but that I wear it with a badge of honor. I think that is so cool to be a part of cinematic history and horror movie history. I mean, in any way, shape, or form, I get to take that with me for the rest of my life. So I'm super proud of that. I'm so honored that they trusted me with that. And yeah, it's really cool. I'm super proud of it. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better reception to it, for sure. It could have gone horribly wrong. You guys could have hated it and been like, what are they doing? And never watched this movie. So yeah, I'm super proud of it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I saw that scene and I was just like taken back. Looking at it again. It took me a long time to actually watch Terrifier.
Okay.
You know, I had heard about it, like you said, it was a word of mouth kind of a thing. And I'm just not a clown guy.
Understandable.
You know, so I'm like, it's a clown movie. I don't want your clown movie. You know, I mean, my idea of a clown movie is, you know, you kill a clown from outer space kind of a thing. You know what I mean? But I was talked into it. I'm really glad that I was, because it's at the top of my list.
I'm like blown away. Like you guys, like I was talking about this with Jason yesterday. It's like you guys get that scene tattooed on your bodies. Like that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and like people get put like art with some of the greatest horror villains of all time now. And like, that just like is mind blowing to me that like, that's the reception and that you guys like really, you know, take that much urgency with it. It's so cool.
And it
I'm so
happened
humbled by it.
fast.
I'm sorry?
It happened really fast.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you know, these are characters that have been around for years and years and years and grown and developed, and you know, this film is new. It only came out 2 years ago. You know what I mean? We didn't make it that long ago. So to have that kind of reception for people to say like you made history with this is so crazy. I mean, I couldn't be more humbled by that.
Well, congratulations for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
You know, absolutely. If I did have a question, if there was one actor, actress that you really, really had this desire to work with, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Well, I obviously am a huge like Meryl Streep fan. That would be like the pinnacle. You know, to be able to do a scene with like the OG is just like, how does it get any better than that? I really admire Jason Momoa. I think he just seems like an awesome human, as well as a super talented actor. I'd love to work with him. Who else? In an indie horror level, I'm friendly with Barbara Crampton. I've admired her for years. I think some of the work that she does, just advocating for women in genre and talking about different things is just incredible. And she's also a producer and creator, and so I think it would just be a really amazing experience to be able to do something with her down the line. Yeah.
Cool.
Helena Bonham Carter, I love her. I don't know.
There's a list, right?
Yeah, oh my God, it goes on. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I just, because you said, and I didn't think about it, fans getting that scene tattooed on them. What is the weirdest thing that you have been asked to autograph?
I've gotten people's bodies before. That's interesting. People bring saws, like real saws, like weapons, you know. That's a little like, well. I'm trying to think. The bodies are probably pretty weird. Oh, you know what? This was not for Terrifier, but Nukem High films have a lot of practical effects, and Lloyd is a real advocate against censorship. So he does a lot of like penis monsters and things like that. People have bought the props at auctions and things like that and brought those. That's a little odd. You know, I never thought I'd be saying I'm signing a penis monster, but you know, such is my life. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a real one, but you know, they always look kind of like Audrey too.
All right, that's a vision I'm gonna have to try to get out of my head.
Yeah.
So where do you like people to follow you and keep up with what you're doing?
I try to be as active as I can on social media. I'm not very good at it. I apologize. Instagram is the main one. I'm pretty good about that. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter, but Instagram is the easiest, I think, to track me down.
And for everybody out there viewing this, in the show notes up above and down below, we have all the links to Catherine. So give her a follow, give her a like, and I think she's got some incredible stuff coming up in the future. I just see it.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. This is such a wonderful end to the weekend. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been fantastic hanging out with you all weekend.
Back at you,
You know,
both of
so
you.
it's been a lot of fun. Any other questions come in before we wrap this up?
No, it looks like we're good. We, no comments. Also, a quick question for myself.
Yeah.
So has horror always been your number one genre you wanted to go into?
Everybody asks me that, and I always say I always wanted to be a working actor first and foremost. You know, before you get to choose what genre you're in, you always want to work. You know, that's the half the battle. And I was so lucky that the genre community embraced me right away, and that's my my bread and butter. But I always was a genre fan for sure. I'm like hardcore Lord of the Rings fan. I loved growing up. I was into the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, the original I loved too. That was like crazy for me. I loved The Craft. I loved Lost Boys. I like supernatural, vampire-y, witch type of things. And as a kid, that was also a really great way to connect with my dad because he's like a fantasy nerd and he likes, genre movies and things like that. When we were little, he used to read me like the Tales of King Arthur and stuff like that. So like that naturally evolved into witches and, vampires. Halloween was always my favorite holiday as a kid. My costumes growing up were taken very, very seriously. You know what I mean? Like I would make them myself. So I think like I didn't intend to always do I didn't intend to be well known in genre. It wasn't like a goal. The goal was to work, but the more I think about it, like just makes sense. You know what I mean? Of course, this would be the community that embraces me because it was the community that I loved,
That's awesome. You got anything else?
I have to, because you love supernatural stuff. Were you a fan of Charmed?
Yes, not as much Charmed though, because I was a Buffy girl like that,
Yeah.
and they had the spin-offs and stuff. But yes, I did love Charmed. And it was a really cool moment when I got to read for the reboot. That was really cool.
Really?
That was like one of the first moments where things had come 360, where I was like, okay, you know what I mean? This is what I do now. This is really cool, And I think the reboot is pretty solid, actually.
Let's see, I haven't watched the reboot.
I mean, a lot of the actresses.
OG fan.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I think some of the original cast is in it, which is always really cool when they continue the lineage.
Oh, I agree with you.
In any sort of interpretation of or continuation of a series in the genre world,
Excellent. Well, this has been awesome. I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation with Catherine.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. Thank you guys.
And like I said, give her a follow. All the links are in the show notes. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank you
taking time
guys.
out of your busy day.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
We will see you in the future. So this is the last panel coming at you from Tidewater Horror Convention. If you're in the area, we're still here for another few more hours. Come on in, say hi, meet some of the people. We got a lot going on still.
Yes, we do.
So